and an up-and-comer as well. But here we go, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alkyone. We have the Chinese Protoss representing Mystery Gaming. It is Nanami Chiaki.
And over here in the top right-hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the top right-hand corner of Alkyone, we have our red Terran player coming down from the land of China, representing Little Fairy. We have Coffee.
Here we go, and let's already Coffee is going to be starting things off a little bit special. This has been rising on popularity recently, but this is looking like an eBay block from Coffee as he's trying to sneak his way across the map towards that natural base of the Protoss.
Very sneaky, like Nanami already has a probe in position just to check, but should have stayed a couple of seconds longer.
Oh yeah, Nanami checks, does not see the SCV, Coffee slips in, and we have the eBay on the way, and this is going to make things quite awkward in the other game here for our Protoss.
Yeah, I mean, it just disrupts so much here from the Protoss player. You know, Nexuses can't be lifted like a command center, and it's not really advisable to go for an unnatural natural here as a Protoss player. So already, yeah, you can tell Nanami was not expecting this at all.
Yeah, exactly, and he is going to be forced to take that unnatural natural base, which means Nanami is going to have a very exposed 2-base setup here. For those that are curious, this is the power of the eBay block in this matchup, is that because there's just so much progression on it already, it's just not worth pulling SCVs, not worth making a Zealot and trying to kill this, because by the time you do, it's too little too late, and you've already lost so much of your economy. So yeah, Protoss players are forced to expand elsewhere.
Yeah, caught between a bit of a rock and a hot place here. If you're a Protoss player, the only way to really avoid that situation is to be hyper vigilant against the SCV threat.
Exactly. And Nanami did miss that SCV. Behind this, we did go for a single gas opener, but we went for a factory first. This is for an add-on stop. Are we going Hellion or Cyclone? Because clearly Coffee does want to punish how exposed this base is.
And that is exactly how to punish the exposed nature of the unnatural natural. 2 Cyclones are now on the way. They produce a little quicker, they're a little cheaper, but they're just as fast as ever.
Oh, exactly. They're fast. They've got quite an amount of DPS available as well. Meanwhile, Nanami is going for a Twilight Council opener. He's going to be relying on a ground army and does see the factory with the reactor. May even spot the Cyclones as they move out. But is he going to be able to survive this eventual attack? As the Adept does take a couple of hits, will it shade away? It will barely escape.
Just in time. Barely has any health left. Oh, this Marine. Can finish it off, but it doesn't get aggroed.
He now sees he's trying to chase him down. The Cyclones are making their way across the map as well. We see Nanami throwing down a proxy pylon across the map. The Stalker has arrived. Shield battery is done alongside Novalord. But Coffee, he has options. He can go for the unnatural natural, or he can go straight for the main. He can go for either or.
And it looks like the main is his target. He knows that Nanami's going to be focusing on defending that unnatural natural. It's not a very defensible base, so unfortunately, yeah, Nanami did leave this exposed. Coffee has also scouted the Dark Shrine, so he knows to save a scan and prepare for a counterattack. Yeah, not a whole lot that an Adept can really do against these 2 Cyclones, and with Stalkers, you have to be very, very careful with your kiting. Thankfully, Nanami has been pretty careful here, and will be able to deal with the initial Cyclones.
Yeah, but we have 2 more Cyclones hitting that natural base. We do have a recall as well, but the shield battery goes down. The second Stalker is going to be falling as well, and this has gotten out of control. Is there anything left to protect this base? It looks like there isn't. There's 1 Stalker left, but with 2 Cyclones, we can focus it down.
We really, really can. This 1 Stalker can be kited like so. And this entire mineral line just goes on in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, 13 probes go down. An insane amount of economic damage is dealt here. 1 Cyclone barely does survive, and we have a Marine or even 2 more Cyclones rocking up. Once again, it just does not stop. Behind this, Coffee is expanding. He's not all in. He's transitioning. We have Stim on the way. Meanwhile, a Dark Shrine, a last-ditch effort was done, and a DT is waddling into these bases, but we're ready for it.
I love this from Coffee. The minute he scouted that Dark Shrine, he threw down that eBay. He built this one missile turret because he knew that's the only way that Nanami can come back here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the only way he can lose.
And the DT goes down. GG gets called. That was the only chance, the only hope, and Coffee will take game number 1.
Very swiftly here. Every move made by Coffee here was orchestrated. Just that one eBay block right at the start, even slightly delaying the SCV by having it go the long way around and give Nanami that little false sense of security. All of it served to make that Cyclone follow-up that much more punishing here from Coffee.
Exactly.
Absolutely big-brained.
As you're mentioning here, this was basically planned from the beginning, from the initial eBay block. Because things started off so well, Coffee was able to punish and abuse Nanami's base location. As we mentioned, if he wanted to, he could head towards the unnatural location or the main base, and he just snowballed out of control, sniping stalker after stalker. They barely couldn't get within range of the shield batteries. The overcharge barely couldn't keep them alive, and yeah, things escalated very quickly out of control in favor of Coffee.
Yeah, once you get that snowball going, it's hard to prevent the avalanche.
It really is, and a Coffee avalanche is like no other as well. So yeah, just really impressive. It does.
It will be kept up.
So GG, well played. Congratulations to Coffee for taking that first game, again in full control of it. Meanwhile, Nanami, we just haven't really been able to see what he's made of yet. Hopefully here in game 2, we're able to have a more stable early game so we can actually get into the mid game and we can see a more back and forth.
Indeed. Here's hoping, because I do think that Nanami has... I mean, like you said, Nanami just wasn't really able to show what he's really capable of here in game number 1, because it was so... it was very much in control of Coffee.
Yeah, Coffee, he was kind of playing his music and forcing Nanami to dance to the beat of his own drum. And oh boy, we'll see if Nanami can get into the swing of things here. I'm sure he's going to be that much more vigilant when it comes to any kind of eBay block. Bearing in mind that we are going to be loading into a map with, again, a very short rush distance, much shorter than Alcyone, which can lead to some more aggressive styles, not necessarily in the early game.
Yeah. Eventually, he'll be aggressive, but not so much in the early game. I don't know. I'm still expecting some aggression coming up from this man here over in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the bottom right-hand corner of Hod Lead. We have our red Terran player coming down from the land of China. He is, of course, going to be representing Little Fairy. He is Coffee.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the Chinese Protoss player representing Mystery Gaming. It is Nanami Chiaki. And yeah, I think the last game was also a really good example of how you can really make use of the new Cyclone. I know a lot of people have been lamenting about how the new Cyclone, you can't like mass it like you used to be able to with the previous one. It is a lot more of a glass cannon. That is true, but it does have its place here, especially in the early game. You can get a lot done and kind of snowball out of control. As we saw in TVP, you can be quite aggressive with said new Cyclone.
You absolutely can. Of course, I don't think the Cyclone is a unit that you want to be massing up too much here. It's not like it's going to be your main bread and butter unit like a Marine will be, but like you said, it's garnish here and there, You sprinkle it in here and there, and you just make your build that much more flavorful.
Exactly. It's kind of how you finish something off. Or finish off your opponent even, as you saw in that previous game. For now, Coffee this time is going for a Rax Expand. Doesn't go for the eBay block, which I think is a wise choice. As you saw, Nanami was a lot more vigilant here with his probe, was a lot more aware of his natural, and yeah, wouldn't be done dirty 2 games in a row.
Yeah, absolutely not. Things are looking a lot more standard coming out here from Coffee, and it looks like we will actually get a mid-game where we can see what Nanami actually planned for the evening.
Exactly, exactly. So much more standard opener from both players, as you were saying. Reaper's going to be moving out. We have a CC on the high ground, so a very safe expansion setup here from Coffee. It does mean that the expansion is going to be a little bit delayed because we have to lift it up and float it over, but very safe nonetheless. As Reaper comes in looking for a scout, as once again Nanami is not opening up Stargate.
Interesting choice here, but one that I think we've kind of come to expect from Nanami. He's not really one to opt for Stargate openings. He does still like his Blink Stalkers and whatnot in the early game.
Oh, exactly, and we'll see if we can get into that. Remember, last game he went into a Dark Shrine, but that may have been just because of the nature of last game and how awkward things were, so that's, again, most likely the reasoning behind the DTs. As you called it, it is going to be Blink.
There we go. I can see into the future. But yeah, Blink is a nice and standard and very, very safe opening here, all things considered, especially in a PvT. It gives you some potential to pressure your Terran opponent down the line once you mass up a couple of Stalkers, but more importantly, it's a really good way of just keeping your mineral line alive, shall I say, in the early game, especially against something like a Mind Drop. As some Protoss players do like going Phoenix to deal with that, but Blink Stalkers are just that much more versatile, IMO.
They really are, and I'm really curious to see how many gateways get thrown down. So far, only 2 gateways, so this is looking like a 2-gate Blink opener into a third. The probe is making its way over, so a very safe, very standard economic opener here out of Nanami, just getting into his third, not really being too aggressive whatsoever.
Yeah, he just wants to play his game. He just wants to play some StarCraft.
He just wants to play some StarCraft. True, true. And we'll see if he can, because Coffee is here to stop him. We have a Mine Marine drop slipping into the main base. We do have Stalkers in position, though. We have 3 of them here in the main. No shield battery, but plenty of firepower.
Yeah, that's quite a lot of Marines. Vanilla Marines, but they will have some support here from the Medevac. Very good Blink here, able to completely take out the Medevac in one hit. And eventually these Marines are going to go down. Already a couple of Stalkers will fall. And in the heat of that moment, that
2 mine shots.
Yep.
Yeah, we had the Widowmine waddle into the natural base. It's 11 kills on this one. 11? How? I have a hard time believing how the hell that did happen. But 11 kills with 1 mine and plenty of other kills with the other. We will clean this up, but Coffee did an insane amount of damage with this.
Yeah. Very surprising result here, but also very good quick thinking coming out from Coffee, recognizing how committed Nanami really was, how committed Nanami's attention was to that main base, that he can actually swaddle in a Widowmine into this very vulnerable natural base. And he's not done, by the way. That is a Liberator gearing up for even more probe kills.
Yeah, exactly. Coffee already has a solid lead, which is something that should never happen in a TVP, especially with Nanami going for an economic opener as well. Yes, this does mean that Nanami can recover, making 3 workers at a time, but that's a lot of resources spent just rebuilding probes. Meanwhile, Coffee is just building himself up as well with a 3-1-1 setup, working towards tanks, working towards his eventual 2-base push. And he's still keeping this Liberator back here, just waiting for the opportune moment to pull apart the attention of the Protoss.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things where, you know, looking on the bright side, because Nanami was so greedy in the early game and did opt for that quicker third base, he's going to be able to recover. Already we can see that the worker count is even, but Nanami didn't plan for things to be even. He purposely got that earlier third base because he wanted an economic lead going into the mid-game, and unfortunately he doesn't have that lead.
Yeah, it doesn't have the lead that he wanted. Also, he's going into a Swarm Toss style as well, so no high-tech units, no Disruptors, no Colossus, no Storm. It's just Gateway, it was just Stalkers and Zealots instead, which can work well, yes, but you do need a solid economy to actually maintain all these Warpins and maintain the amount of Zealots that you're going to be relying on.
You really do. You also have to be a bit more active on the map, I would say. You need to be a bit more discerning, I think is the word I'm looking for when it comes to what you actually attack. You want to be looking to catch reinforcements and to catch the little pockets of Terran as they try to parade push across the map. Otherwise, a head-on engagement will never work out in the Protoss player's favor without those high-tech units.
Yeah, exactly. You have to pick and choose your battles. Meanwhile, we do blink into the main base, so we're going for a cancel on combat shields, but it finishes just in time before it goes down. The Liberator into the main, getting a lot of damage done as well. 3 workers and a Stalker falling as well. And here comes the push. Now, I'm a little bit concerned because Nanami did have his observer checking the main. I don't think he saw the move out until now with the Adapt.
And now may just be too little too late. Coffee is up on Army Supply. And again, where are the Colossus? Where are the High Templar? Where's the any form of AoE?
Yeah, it's all about the Gateway Army. Here we go. The Zealots are going to be closing the distance, but there are so many tanks. 5 tanks with this army. Going to be laying siege upon the forces of Nanami. We do have an overcharge. The overcharge is going to keep these Stalkers alive, but we are still going to be busting up this ramp.
Yeah. Shield battery with overcharge will go down. A lot of the bio did get picked off earlier on, thanks to the force fields. But here comes some SCVs. The SCVs actually blocked, so yeah, good use of force fields once again from Nanami. But at this point, looking at all of these tanks, I'm not sure if it really matters. A couple of Zealots are trying to slip on in, but force field runs out right at the end, and these SCVs and the rest of the Marines that stayed alive will be able to keep one tank alive. And I don't see any way for Nanami to turn this around.
It's only one tank, Israel. Can we dive on top of that tank? The Zealots are coming from behind. They try to fix it down. Immortal comes out just in time as well. The tank falls.
The tank falls, and a surprising amount of bio as well. Coffee pulled all of his boys, and now he is very, very far behind. That was a move that was meant to end the game right then and there, and Coffee almost did. But Nanami survived by the skin of his teeth, and with that, actually has potential going into the rest of this game.
Yeah, it was the force fields were amazing. As you mentioned, we pulled the boys, and the boys, they couldn't do anything as they were stuck behind the tanks and the force fields of Nanami. Clutch moves out of our Protoss player, and Nanami holds on a 3-base economy. Coffee was all in, and Coffee cannot sustain himself. He does have a 3rd CC though. I'm shocked that we threw down a 3rd, but we also pulled the boys. We are getting a bit of mixed signals, but because of the 3rd, he is still in this, but there's still a lot of pressure on the Terran.
This 1/3 orbital command, yeah, is pretty much Coffee's get out of jail free card. Because otherwise, I think he would have 100% tapped out after his SCVs went down.
100%. So this is keeping him in this game. We have the Bio Army coming from the right-hand side, and we have a couple of mines set up as well, but the force fields are thrown down. The Zealots are going to dive in. The mines, they connect on some Zealots, but not all of them.
And the kiting from Coffee is good, but I don't think it's able to make up for the sheer firepower here and the high ground of Nanami.
Exactly, as we do see Coffee forced all the way back into the center of the map. Mine shot's going to be going off once again, this time much better on said Zealots, but Nanami is still just pushing on forward, chasing this all the way back home.
Man, look at how low these medevacs are when it comes to their energy. Every stim is going to hurt Coffee so much.
It really is, and he's going to try and chase this down once again. He gets on top of some of the Stalkers, but the force fields are thrown down. The Zealots close the gap. Mines go off, taking down the sentries, but we barely have any army left. Coffee has to turn back around. Nanami still maintains his economic lead. Coffee has been just pumping out nothing but SCVs. He is slowly catching up, but he loses map control.
Slowly, but not so surely, if you ask me. Thankfully, you know, that 3rd orbital command does have some energy on it. He, well, I was going to say he threw down another mule, but I guess he does just scan and confirms that is a 4th base on the way here from Nanami. Pressure is building here for Coffee.
Exactly, the pressure is on. At least he knows that his opponent isn't on 4-base economy. Like, the 4th was just thrown down. There's potential to deny the 4th, or even go for a split push and get into the mineral line, or maybe push into the main. We have options here, as we have plenty of medevacs available for Coffee to try to pull apart his opponents, as the 3rd base is now being main-arded, and he's getting up to a much better economy.
Yeah, Coffee's base count, I mean, he could still use a 4th base, but considering the circumstance, considering he sent 20 SCVs to that depth, Coffee's not in a terrible position, although he will be soon, because that is... Nanami is now producing a unit that's been missing this entire time. Colossus will absolutely shut down a Marine heavy army.
Exactly, Colossus is on the way. That's the first Colossus of the game. Meanwhile, we do have a singular mine drop coming in on the right-hand side. As Zealot Rabbi comes in, we don't really have too many reinforcements. The Marines are in danger, and Coffee turns back around.
That 4th base of Nanami will not be punished this day. but a couple of workers by that third base will go down.
Yeah, 2 workers go down. We have a cannon on the way to help deal with those mines. Scan confirms the saturation, full saturation on the 4th base here for Nanami. And Coffee, what exactly do we go for? How do we approach this? That's a lot of Marauders here for Coffee. If he can get on top of that Colossus, he will make short work of it as he's going for a mine drop.
Yeah, he confirms the Colossus as well. Pretty good positioning here of the bio, I would say. That's not as many probes that I thought would go down went down there.
The base!
Very good pull of the... Yeah, very good pull with the Zealot. The base will go down long before Nanami's really able to chase away this bio army. And Coffee, he knows he can't stay and fight there. He is content with the damage he's dealt. He will turn around happy that he's been able to knock Nanami down to an even base count.
Exactly. Very quick moves, very nice moves here out of Coffee. When I saw these Marauders, I was like, mate, he can chunk through a Gateway army without too much issue unless there are Zealots involved, but little did I realize, mate, we can chunk through buildings as well. Did not take long at all to focus down that Nexus, and as you mentioned, Coffee is back in this, and we have Ghosts on the way. We have very limited Vikings available. We're getting to Viking production now, but because we've been stimming so much, like Medivacs wouldn't be a bad choice either here. So Coffee is still working his way back into this, but he has a shot.
He absolutely does. Little shot of espresso, if you will.
Oh my god. How have we not made like coffee puns while casting coffee before? True. That's oh god. We don't have to, but
we don't have to. Yeah.
don't force it. It's fine.
I was gonna say, we're above that until now.
Oh god. As Coffee has a 4th CC on the way, the Colossus count is getting higher. Already 3, soon to be 4 Colossi. So this army from Nanami is actually quite robust. It's got quite a lot of firepower available. So Coffee, I don't think he can engage this head to head, but with a more mobile army, he can avoid those Colossi. He can maybe try to hit some of these fringe bases.
Yeah, and that's definitely what he's looking to do. Exactly. As this game goes on, however, I do worry a little bit for Nanami. He doesn't seem to be diversifying his tech that much. Oh, to be fair, he hasn't really been given an opportunity to diversify, considering his 4th base went down, and yeah, a whole lot of other probes elsewhere went down as well. But yeah, I do think that now that the Ghosts and the Vikings are out for Coffee, the tables have turned once again, and Coffee has the stronger army.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with EMPs, right? Like, it's all going to come down to the EMPs and how well they can connect. We see an army on the right-hand side is spotted by that Paladin. He's actually diving right towards that Nexus. Does get off an EMP. No recall is available, but Nanami maintains control of the left-hand side, does not rotate over with his Colossus. He's ready for the second army.
That's a game of positioning right now. Coffee spread himself on 2 sides of the map. Nanami spread as well to looking to meet him wherever he can.
Yeah, and mate, that's a 5th Colossus. Okay, well, we should like address this, because a 4th Colossus is already crazy. For those wondering, 3 Colossi is typically considered to be ideal. Any more than that, and you do over damage or overkill, and it becomes a little bit wasteful when it comes to the DPS that you have. So it's a little bit advised to go into disruptors, but no, we're just doubling down on Colossus.
Well, hopefully this works out for him. Massive EMP blankets the core of that army. Vikings are able to get a lot of volleys off on these Colossus, but so do the Colossus on most of the bio. The vast majority of Marines have been taken out, but the Vikings land, and Coffee comes out a little bit better in that trade. A lot better, actually. Most of these Ghosts are still alive.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he loses the Marines, but everything else does survive. He resets the Colossus count, but it's okay. We were making more because, of course, we were. There
we go. Big brain from Nanami here. He knew he was going to lose all 4 of his Colossus.
True. He was ready for it, Pop. He was ready for it. Alas, we are now lacking here in the army. We have reinforcements coming on in. Coffee pushing forward does lift those Vikings once again. Colossus will go down.
Yeah, very good target firing here from Coffee. Not losing his Vikings unnecessarily to the Stalkers. Now they are starting to fall. Nanami has a bit of momentum going his way. Really good EMP on all of these Stalkers though, and with the defensive advantage, Nanami is thinking twice. He has a Warp Prism coming up forward, so he will be able to get reinforcements. Coffee is struggling a lot to deal with this, forced to retreat back to his planetary fortress.
Yeah, exactly. Force retreat to the third base, to the fourth base even. We do have the fifth burning down. It will fall here to those Stalkers. And it looks like there were just too many Zealots. Not enough splash damage, not enough either Ghosts or Widow Mines. We're going for another big Warp in, and Nanami may be able to break this position and may be able to force an ace match.
Yeah, it's looking very likely as he dives in on top of the heart of Coffee's army. Coffee is up in army supply, but a lot of his supply is actually in these medevacs that are very quickly running out of energy.
Yeah, Bunker coming in clutch, but it's going to be focused down immediately by all these Stalkers. The Zealots are barely squeezing through. Mines are coming in as well. Coffee trying desperately here to hold on. He barely will hold on to his natural base, but the Warpins, they just do not stop. This 5-base economy from Nanami really kicking in.
Yeah, who needs Colossus?
True.
Not Nanami, apparently huge friendly fire on top of all these SCVs. It looks so low.
Yeah, the SCVs, so many of them are going to be going down. The boys are pulled. GG, and Nanami will take game number 2. We're going to the ace match.
GG, very nicely done here from Nanami. Things were looking dire. Things were looking absolutely devastating for him after those 18 probes went down to the mine and marine drop in the very early game, but just somehow he was able to survive long enough. He was able to slowly but surely get his economy up and running, and by the time he hit 5 bases and was able to deflect and really prevent Coffee from pressuring him any further from that point on, he pretty much had this in the bag.
He really did, and yeah, you could definitely make an argument as well that maybe Coffee just wasn't really anticipating his opponent to pose that much of a threat here, you know, with that SCV pool. I don't think I was opposed to the SCV pool, but it was just a brutal position to push up, right? Those force fields were key in Nanami surviving that first big attack, and yeah, Coffee did fight his heart out trying to recover, but after a failed all-in, it is difficult to do so, and Nanami was able to hold on, and yeah, we have an ace match. We have a back and forth.
Indeed we do. I'm loving this. I will say, like you were mentioning not being opposed to the SCV pull, I wasn't opposed to it either. I really thought that was the move that would really secure Coffee's victory. I thought we would, be done with our TVP and move on to our first of many PvPs of the evening, but those force fields from Nanami came in absolutely clutch. I think if even one of them was slightly misplaced, I do think that the SCVs of Coffee would have been able to surround the army, would have been able to provide a buffer for the bio, but instead, those force fields were placed just at the right time, just at the right position to really do the opposite. And the bio was buffering for the SCVs at that point, which doesn't actually do much. Well, doesn't do much for the Terran player.
Yeah, it's not ideal for the Terrans, so yeah, with this, Nanami was able to get into his game, was able to really reveal to us what he is made of, and honestly, looking damn good as well. We learned a couple of things. You know, he likes his Colossus. Yep,
it's a problem. Apparently not. He won that game, so maybe not.
It's true. It's true. I mean, you could maybe make an argument that he forced Coffee to overcommit into Vikings, and after the Colossus went down, the Vikings, they did land. Of course, they supported, but maybe we could have made better use of our supply overall. At the same time, though, just a wild play style out of Nanami, and really well done. I'm impressed by this game.
I'm gonna say that was exactly what Nanami planned. Yeah. He was content with 3 Colossus, but then realized, wait, if I go up even higher, I can force Coffee to overreact.
Yep. the big brain plays here from our players, and we'll see what Coffee has in store for us here in game number 3. I say Coffee because so far he has been the one dictating the pace of the game. Game 1, of course, Coffee went for the eBay block into the Cyclone Rush. Here in game 2, he went for essentially a 2-base all-in with a 3rd CC behind it, which was wild, but still a 2-base all-in by pulling all those boys. What does he do here in game 3?
Well, we'll find out. As there we go. Just a couple of technical difficulties, but now we do have all of our players in game. We do have all of our refs in game. Oh, actually, we're just trying to sort some stuff out.
And just making sure that everything is looking good and as it should. Just making sure that there are no issues going on. And it's beautiful. We can now load into that final game. It is going to be on Hecate. Once again, a bit of a larger map here. We didn't really get to talk about it, but we did mention how the rush distance on hard lead is actually quite short, which also, I guess, led into that all-in from Coffee. Didn't work out in the end, but like logically, it did make sense that he would go for a more aggressive build. So, yeah, that's why I'm keeping my eye on Coffee here in Game 3.
Yeah. I mean, that's usually just the type of player he is. You know, he is a player who really likes dictating the pace of the game. There's a reason why, you know, a lot of us Terran players look to him for builds. Somebody else look to him for content. But regardless, we are here now on Hecate. We're over here in the bottom right left-hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the bottom left, we have our red Terran player coming down from the land of China. He, of course, is going to be representing Little Fairy. We have Coffee.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the Chinese Protoss player representing Mystery Gaming, tying up the series 1-1 in that last game. It is Nanami.
I think I saw somebody mention that Nanami's name comes from that Japanese game series, Danganronpa.
Ah.
And I'm trying to make a connection here, but I have not played that game, unfortunately.
I could be crazy. I think Danganronpa is like a mystery, like a murder game.
I think it is, but then there's also that like Shadow Bear that you have to use a megaphone on. I've seen clips of it.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Yeah.
It's also a murder mystery, but it's a murder mystery that is, to my understanding, it's that murder mystery that's like, you know, it's the fun kind, you know.
No,
it's like they have it's like the kids have a podcast about true crime.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, it's very ubu.
It's like the Hardy Boys.
Yeah,
but in Japan. I don't think the Hardy Boys didn't murder. When I think about it.
Well, thank you for letting us know. To appreciate the origins here. There are a lot of weebs in StarCraft, and you know, it's a beautiful thing. You know, it's a safe place for all things weeaboo.
Well, but now.
As we are getting into our openers, once again, a Rax Expand economic opener here out of Coffee, not going for an eBay block or anything too crazy. So the early game is looking quite normal, quite standard from our Terran player here in Game 3.
Just barely not able to start a step on top of that probe.
Barely. The probe does escape. Once again, 3 games in a row, Nanami going for that Twilight Council.
Yeah, no Stargate whatsoever. Hasn't quite learned to fly yet, but I kind of like this coming out from Nanami, you know? Do feel like Stargate openings have pretty much become the standard in the past couple of years for pretty much every Protoss matchup, so nice to see a little variety come out here. Nice to see that you know, the basics are still working.
Yeah, exactly. It's great to see some variety going into a Twilight Council into Blink. We'll see how aggressive he's planning to be. To wind it back, last game it was 2-gate Blink into a 3rd Nexus. We'll see if we have a similar opener. As on a map like Hecate, I wouldn't be opposed to it as the Reaper barely does escape. Up.
Yeah, barely gets a full scout on this main base. Will confirm that it is not a Stargate opening. Should be able to get eyes on the Robo facility as well. He does.
Does see all the tech, does see all the production for now, and we see that Nanami is looking to expand and take that 3rd base. So once again, a 2-gate Blink into a 3rd from Nanami.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't meddle with it.
There you go. As we do have a pretty interesting build here from Coffee, though. We have a 2-on-1 setup. Very actually, yeah,
Well,
really interesting 2-on-1 setup. We're rushing into Stim, that is true, but we're actually making tanks as well alongside this.
yeah, this is not gonna be a drop whatsoever. I saw the Cyclone, I saw these Marines, and I thought, oh, it's that variant of a 2-on-1 where you go in with your initial medevac and you drop you drop the Cyclone and the Marines for support. But no, Coffee. I'm keeping my eyes glued on the production tab. I would be very surprised if we see a third base anytime soon.
Exactly. So basically what we're seeing here is a big delay on the starport, as you also brought up, right, when it comes to the lack of drop play and the lack of scouting as a result as well. But this means that we're going to be rushing into Sim, we're rushing into tanks, we're going to be having an abundance of army, and once we get our medevacs out, then the push is going to be upon us. A very aggressive build here out of a Coffee. Observer's going to be dipping in, though, and we'll be getting an eye on things. We'll be getting a read on the overall production, on the army as well, and yeah, we'll see if Nanami can manage to hold this once again. Storm Toss.
Yeah, well, worked for him pretty well in that last game, and I think he's proven that he really understands how to get the most utility out of his Storm Toss style with all those force fields, so I can't fault him for going with it again this time. He will be faced with a bit of a different army, though.
Exactly.
Or rather, he will be facing a bit of a different army.
He will, and we'll see if Coffee does commit and pull the boys with this as well. Stim is already done. Combat Cheers is on the way. We're going for an add-on swap to get into those reactored medevacs so we can commit to the push and have some sustain with those Stims. And Nanami is just preparing himself. Nanami did lose an observer, but comes in with the second observer and gets a better read on what is going on.
Yeah, he's put 2 and 2 together. A lot of shield batteries now being thrown down. He is just looking to secure these bases as securely as possible. I couldn't think of another synonym.
That's safely.
Safely, there we go.
Yeah. As the scan's going to be thrown down, keeping an eye on the gas count of Nanami as well, just making sure that we're not rushing into Colossus. And here we go, the push is upon us. We do have a bit of a stim just to force back these Stalkers. This is really wise of Nanami to actually have these Stalkers slow down the army, force out stims, maybe pick off a couple units here and there. Nanami even going for a Zealot counterattack at the same time as the boys are being pulled.
All the boys. Time is a flat circle. And it is repeating itself a little bit here, although this time, Coffee is much more committed. Once again, 0 third base on the horizon. There's a very tight choke!
There is a tight choke, and there are 3 sentries on top of this ramp. The rocks are going to be knocked down, though, so far more force fields are going to be forced here to be able to bust, or to be able to slow down this army, as Coffee is not slowing down. Coffee is committed.
That he is. He is now up a ramp, and there's no easy or no obvious position real force field here, but the tanks are a little bit exposed. Probes are being pulled to deal with the boys that have already went down, but it looks like Nanami is barely going to be able to beat this back.
Yeah, exactly. Good target firing, good probe pull as well. 22 SCVs may have gone down. Sorry, 16 probes may have gone down, but that was for 22 SCVs. And this time, there is no third CC. This time, there is no safety net for Coffee as he gets forced back home.
All the way back. And Nanami's looking to meet him there. Nanami will be a little bit slowed down when it comes to his reinforcements. Again, he's on the overall better economy, but not an economy that's secure enough to really be able to warp in over and over and over again. But you know, if he's able to catch some of these bio units in the middle of the map away from tank support, I do think Nanami just really has this in the bag.
I mean, he forces out the bio army. We're going for a double drop. At the same time, there's nothing back at him to defend. There are tanks, yes, but more SCVs are going down. Coffee can't afford this. We barely have an economy to begin with. The Stalkers, they come in from the right-hand side. They do not dive on top of those tanks, but the double drop comes back home.
Yeah, this should just about put an end to that, but again, this was only 4 Zealots here from Nanami. It's a drop in the bucket for him.
It really is, and behind this, Nanami is just getting further ahead. This time, we're not going into Colossus, we're going into Storm, so we are just mixing it up a little bit further. Storm can be a little bit risky, as you can imagine. We have to rely on energy-based units, but Coffee, we're pushing again, and we're pulling the boys again.
He's had enough. He has had enough. He's realized that there's absolutely no way he can recover economically from this position. He has to end the game sooner rather than later. Very tough ask, but still possible, you know, if he's able to take out the Archon in time, if his tanks don't get taken out by the Zealots. Everything needs to click in place here, but it is possible.
It is possible. The charge there, the Marshals, they dive on top of the tanks. Both tanks, they go down instantly. Without the tanks, how do we push in? GG gets called, and Nanami